With this, I'd like to introduce to you all to our keynote speaker, our interim moderator of Shape the World Changemakers Network, Dr. Paolo Frizzi. Dr. Paolo Frizzi specializes in global dynamics with an emphasis on intercultural and inter-religious development, shaping globalization. He's currently the global program manager at Porticus, where he organizes and supports activities aimed at creating a just and sustainable future where human dignity can flourish. Let's welcome our brother, Dr. Paolo Frizzi. To you.
Thanks, Elena. And hello to everyone. Good morning, afternoon, evening. It's just fantastic to be among friends and brothers and sisters. So I'm very pleased to be here and just have this opportunity to share with you some thoughts about trust. And I think it was great to start this moment together, reading many different thoughts, many different definitions of trust, and I think I liked all of them, and it was just great. You know, in the preparation of this thought, of this keynote speech, of this moment together, I just went and looked back at some of the definitions, and I think that the majority of the sources, when you look up about trust, they agree that trust is not a rule, it's not an agreement, it's not a contract. It's actually, as many said in the previous exercise, it's a belief. It's a belief in the reliability, honesty, dependability of someone or something. So it means to have confidence in relationships with others. And there's this global expert on trust. The name is Stephen Covey. I will share about a book later. He has a very fascinating definition of trust as the glue of life, the most essential ingredient in effective communication, the foundational principle that holds all relationships. This is fancy, huh? And as we know, trust is an experience we do in life since when we are children. Is used in many different fields in business, trust funds, trustees, and of course in society. And what we are going to concentrate today is more on what we call social trust or faith in people. And again, let's see trust as a commitment to others, which shapes our behaviors, open us to partnerships, open us to deeper relationships and social engagement, etc. And what we know by now, I think, is that the poverty of trust in particular is something that is preoccupying us a lot. Lawrence is talking about it, writing about it for many years, I think since 2016 maybe, and many others, they are talking about it. And it is a concern, poverty of trust, a very complex concern, in particular today, as a consequence of the pandemic. And many are talking about how this new normality or new abnormality where we are in because of the pandemic is shaping a kind of landscape where personal and social safety is in danger. And different circles of social engagement and social trust are needed. Many of us lost their jobs. Some of us were luckier and had to adjust to a different way of working. Workplaces are different. Our homes are different. They have been reshaped to welcome working from home. Even our usual circles of trust, human contacts are disrupted. Hobbies are different. Our vacation plans are different. Even our retirement plans have been disrupted. So the pandemic provides a lot of examples about the centrality of trust. Let's look, for example, at the success of each new confinement plan by national, regional, or city governments. They depend by the trust between citizens and governments. And the same is for the success of vaccination campaigns. And this trust is built locally, and it involves all stakeholders in society: health officers, media channels, educational institutions, businesses, public leaders. And if we go on a more personal level, let's look at the closure of offices, for instance. How much gap has exposed about trust? As employees, many of us, either staff or managers, had to reorganize the workflow and work-life balance. As team members, we dealt with projects without ever meeting our colleagues in person for entire project cycles. We did not meet with key partners and clients. We signed way too many contracts by email. I have colleagues who have joined my organization, have been hired in the last 12 months, that still have to meet in person the managers who hired them or the colleagues they work with. This is a new, complete level of trust and trust engagement in the workplace we never faced in history. And many are saying something very interesting, that trust management might simply be the biggest issue impacting performance today. We can discuss about it. Following the reflection of some economists, for instance, Jean-Charles Fourcade, he says that the capacity of humanity today to thrive or fail in dealing with the consequences of the pandemic depends by the distribution of trust in the different circles involved in our life we have around us in societies, from the more personal one to the more global one. The urgency of trust grows in times of crisis. And Fourcade makes the example of the climate change as a crisis that cry about urgent and scream about crisis. We can overcome the lack of commitment to solve the climate crisis only if we build and amplify circles of trust that are meaningful, personal, that can work at the local level, at the global level, which can be impactful. And this is very complex to achieve. We can cry about it, we can make statements about it, but it's very complex to achieve. What makes trust complex and more complex today is that the level of trust a society or a company, a business, or a government needs in order to achieve or fail a target depends highly by the context. So for instance, a government tries to win an election and it needs the trust of, let's say, 30%, 40%, maybe 50% of its electors. Not all the populations, just electors, a part of them. However, a national government trying to reach national COVID herd immunity during the pandemic needs the trust of 80%, maybe 90% because of the Delta variant, of the entire national populations, not just the electors. And here lies the paradox. Let's take the European countries as an example. I know them better, I live there. In general, the large majority of people is behaving very well during the pandemic. Not everyone, but the large majority. The majority of Europeans, they comply with the government rules. They trust the governments when it comes to both confinements and vaccination. However, the exceptional commitment to social trust and safety could be just not enough to win the war against the virus because of how high is the buy-in needed, 80% to 90%. So at the end of the day, governments may fail to achieve their goals, even if they have the trust of an exceptional large majority of their citizens. And of course, this puts an even higher amount of pressure on leaders. And if we transfer this paradox at the level of a company, an organization, a team, we see a similar case. In this sense, it's very interesting to look at the findings published in January by the Edelman Trust Barometer. Another link will be shared later, in occasion of their last annual report update. The many findings can be summarized with a slogan: exceptional times require exceptional levels of trust. Stephen Covey is like probably one of the most trusted global experts on trust. He published recently a book, The Speed of Trust, the one thing that changes everything. And it shows a number of interesting examples about how uncertainty exposes leaders' credibility and their capacity to generate trust. Why leaders are exposed? Because in general, as all of us, either we are leaders or not, we are ill-equipped to deal with the situation as it is today. An example, a small team having to deliver a big project during the pandemic almost definitely is doing this in crunch time, working from different homes, someone at the office, others not. This is a clear recipe for a disaster. A team like this needs an exceptional level of team unity in order to avoid burnout. And this is, for too many, still the new normal. Crunch time becomes normal time and burnout is around the corner. So the question is, how do you build unity in this situation? The answer I give is multiplying meaningful and personal circles of trust at all these different levels. How to do that? So I try to bring to you 4 key messages. First, trust is personal and local. It starts from a personal commitment. We build trust through our life and our example. Be the first one to trust the other, in particular, if you are a manager of people or you serve people. Second, communication is key to overcome trust issues while working on common projects from different places. How and where we communicate our messages matters. We are in the midst of an infodemic. Messages are everywhere. And the time we have to be together in person, they are scarce. They are of pure quality. Poor quality, not pure. With our teams and colleagues, with our partners or students or patients, we need to be clear, direct, and honest in conveying our messages. Only in this way, they will be effective. Third, meaningful participation is key to amplify reliable circles of trust. It's not only about reaching out with the right message or the right project at the right time, but also establishing engaging feedback loops. They generate meaning and participation to build deeper relationships. They create a virtuous circle of trust. Trust wants us to believe and practice empathy. Empathy builds trust. Trust builds more participation. Participation builds more empathy. And finally, the attention is all on leaders and change makers. We all learned by now, and I think that Particus is working on this for ages, that to change the world, we need agents of change. Because institutions can change only from the inside out. We need leaders. And we also know that this takes way too much time, commitment, and effort. We need to open more spaces, scale up, like this example of the Shape the World Changemakers, to allow personal exchange of leaders, either from businesses, governments, or nonprofits. Organizations are called to meet an extended mandate, being proactive in engaging in multi-stakeholder partnerships, and change makers needs to step up and take ownership in building these partnerships. To conclude with another slogan, the opportunity is there, it's definitely now, for changemakers to bring together governments, businesses, NGOs, etc., to amplify circles of trust and expand the impact of our work. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Paolo, for those extensive insights on the topic of trust. Hello, everyone.